Good afternoon, Internet. Welcome to episode 3 of Livewire Connections, the Spring Has Sprung edition. I'm Henry Clifford, and I work at Livewire with the best technology people in the business. We're broadcasting live from the home office here in sunny Richmond, Virginia. I want to thank you for joining us. I know we've got customers, employees, first-time callers, long-time listeners on with us today. We know you have a choice how to spend your lunch hour, and we thank you for choosing us. We started this show because our customers have been asking us to do this in person for years. The pandemic has killed traditional opportunities to meet new people, so the idea of doing a show with industry experts and inviting our community became a no-brainer overnight. In the coming months, we'll be hanging out with industry tech experts and legends each month, making sure you get answers to all your burning questions. Speaking of questions, if you've got any as we're going along, just drop them into the chat and we'll have a chance for some Q&A at the end. Cool? Let's take it away. I'm honored to be joined in the studio by an industry legend. I'm talking about none other than Coastal Source's founder and president, Franco D'Ascanio. Welcome, Franco.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate you being here and taking time out. I know you're very busy. So just to begin, tell us all a little bit about your background and how you came to sort of how Coastal Source sort of came into being. What was the background? What drove this?
Okay.
What were you up to?
Up to a lot of things. So my background is electronics. Started my first audio video stores when I was actually 18. At 18, I had one. I'm in the Florida Keys. That's where I'm talking to you from. That's where our coastal R&D is done. Opened the second one. I think I was about 20 years old. So been in that industry for a long time. And at that point, it was retail AV with some light installation, heavy in car audio, and just the start of integration, multiple TV sets where people could be watching their stocks and programs and things like that. Whole house audio just kind of starting. And then obviously it evolved into the things we know today of automation and things like that. Part of a family business. I've never worked for anyone else. And our primary business, the audio stores were pretty much late 70s to about 95. And then we morphed them into the rest of the family business, which there's three brothers. And the primary business is a design build firm called Design Source with an A. We are architects, engineers, landscape architects. We're interior designers. We're the integrator. We are the general contractor. We're the landscaper. We turnkey estate properties, small resorts, boutique resorts. So based on that, Sound Source, the audio company, and my work became part of those projects. And that went on until about 2003. And we found that our outdoor stuff, we're down the Florida Keys, so it's a pretty rough environment. We got our share of hurricanes and salt and all those things. And the product really just wasn't good enough. We have a 25,000 square foot facility that has everything from home theater in it to kitchens to bathrooms and all the finishes and fixtures and stuff that goes with it. And we also have other architects, other builders coming to buy from us. And we just felt that the product wasn't good enough. So in 2003, we started with our own salt test chambers. We built scientific papers on how to build a better product, primarily for our manufacturers. We had no intent of manufacturing. And to go out to them and say, listen, your stuff is not good enough for these harsh conditions. We've invested in the time and money to show you how to do it. Please, will you incorporate this into a number of products that we can sell? Pretty much got rejected. And we spent a lot of time on this and a lot of money traveling throughout the US and overseas also. And manufacturers pretty much told us that, hey, it's a throwaway society, right? Also, the places that have an issue are the coasts where, that's just part of our business. People don't have the receipts. They don't save the boxes. They just buy a new one. that doesn't work well with what we are as a company and the services and the products we sell our customers. So from 2003 to about 2010, we designed and built products based on those white papers for our projects, which is pretty much, the Caribbean and the Florida Keys, South Florida, some that kind of thing. We built a house, and it was a long story. We built a house for one of our clients who had some failures, and he said, listen, guys, what can we do about this? We handed the white paper, and then we started a joint venture. It's been a very successful one. Started in 2008, where we started selling the product to other people, other dealers. Because what was happening is a customer in the Keys fell in love with the stuff, but they wanted it for their Connecticut home or their Ohio home or their California home. And the installers came back, the integrators told us that, listen, we don't want to just be installing yourself, we want to be selling it, So that's basically how this all happened. Our advantage, I believe, is through our parent company. Every day we are designing, building, installing, maintaining these systems for decades. So we're not detached from the real world.
So what I'm hearing is you're kind of eating the dog food still even today, so that if there's an issue with the product, the feedback loop is fairly instantaneous.
Yeah, and we also generally test things for a long time before our dealers even know that it exists.
Yeah.
We like to be the guinea pigs rather than our dealers, or our dealers' customers, more importantly. So
Yeah.
yes, we do these things every day.
And so I guess as I think about 2008, you're starting to roll this out. Why the integrator community as a means of rolling that out, or what kind of strategy did you envision to sort of roll out Coastal Source lighting and sounds, as a dealer model?
Well, so I think there's a couple reasons. One is my background as an integrator. So I have an affinity for what integrators can do, what they bring to the table. We're also not a commodity company. So going out and selling online or selling through distribution and stuff like that didn't make a lot of sense for us up front. Our product is a higher end, well-engineered, well-built, high-performance product. Not everybody is in a position to communicate and demonstrate those superiorities. And without those, we're another product. So there's a lot of things I think in the integrator channel, as far as understanding technology, understanding luxury goods and the value they bring. Everybody wants value, regardless of the cost. The ability to carry through, our products, all need to be installed. They're made to be installed systems. They're not standalone. So all those things kind of just steered us in that direction, and it's been very good. And then there was a learning curve, especially with our outdoor lighting, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah, and full disclosure, everybody, I have one of these systems in my own house. We have one here at our design center, but I also took the plunge, thanks to Franco and his team, last summer, and put in one of these systems in my own house, and oh my gosh, it's amazing and it's addictive. What do you? I mean, I have it in my own house, so clearly I'm addicted. Pre-addiction, right? There's a million outdoor lighting products out there you just alluded to. It sounds to me like you tried to get these guys to sort of get with the program and make their stuff a little more robust in a throwaway society, and you had to just kind of roll your own after a while. But what do you say, or how do you speak to somebody who says, well, I could just go down to the Home Depot and buy a bunch of stake lights and get the, I don't live in the Florida Keys. I don't need all that. How do you kind of speak to those?
Well, very interesting subject, because our first business model was strictly dealing with the coasts. We figured all our business would be coming from the East Coast, Gulf Coast, and the West Coast. Fortunately, I think a couple things have been very beneficial for us, and we have about 1,000 dealers, and they are throughout the U.S., Midwest, everywhere. So a couple things. So first, based on conditions, the outdoor environment is harsh. I don't care where you are. Okay. One of our a really good customer of ours. I can't tell you the name, but they are the largest theme park in Central Florida. Okay. The amount of corrosion and things there and abuse is significant. Okay. Because, all right, you don't have the salt air and the salt spray, but fertilizers, decaying plant matter, almost all soils are either acidic, okay, which is really bad. And so you have, and then landscapers trampling things, digging holes, all are factors that make it a harsh environment, probably almost as harsh as it is right here. So that's one factor. The other thing is that we're very much technology driven, we're engineer driven. So I think, Henry, as you probably found out, when you hold one of our products in your hand and you hold somebody else's, it tells most of the story. And we're not just talking about weight, we're talking about finish, we're talking about fit. Our cabling system, we have a patented cabling system, which made your installation, I think you can elaborate on it, but I would assume it was a fraction of what time it would take for that Home Depot or any of our competitors. But more importantly, that wasn't just done to save time and money. It was done for reliability, repeatability, and the ability to change your system as your garden grows, as your needs grow. So when we're designing, even our fixtures are modular, and through our cabling, a garden grows. Your plans change. If you stick around your house long enough, you change pathways, or maybe you build an outdoor kitchen, or all these things. So not only is our stuff meant to be used and very high performance up front, but last a long time, work for a long time, and then be adjustable to changes. So then when you look at the performance of our products, the light output, the audio quality, we pretty much have set a standard, I think, in outdoor audio. Okay, and there's a new standard coming from us that's even another league above. So those things have allowed us to have a very wide customer base, regardless of where you live. And if you appreciate quality, we don't think it's splitting hairs. We think there's a significant advantage in using our products.
I do remember holding one of your fixtures in my hand for the first time and thinking of it almost the same way I think of German engineering or like a Swiss watchmaker, just the kind of almost overemphasis on build quality. That I remember one of your fixtures I held in my hand, and I didn't understand how to get the bulb into it.
Right.
That it was actually two pieces.
Correct.
Because the threaded the way it all came together, it was indistinguishable. And so that took me a while because it's so well built.
It's seamless. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I make the joke sometimes that my house might fall down, but that some of this the Coastal Source stuff's going to be there until the end of time.
That's the idea, because I mean, like I said, the abuse that it takes just from your landscapers, or unless you do your maintenance yourself, maybe you're a little more careful. But it's a harsh environment we deal with, and we try and build in the quality so we can have exceptional warranties and everything. If you look at our speakers and even just the grills, they're made to trap dirt and debris, etc., and filter it out and drain it away. Because even though you could build an outdoor speaker that can handle heat and cold and rain, over time those things coat. You're out there blowing your landscape, your people are blowing all this dust that accumulates on a super light titanium dome tweeter. That tweeter doesn't sound the same after a year or 3 years or 5 years. We have drainage systems built into for our speakers, So we really, I think it's attention to detail with a lot of background in what it takes to build things that will hold up to the kind of conditions we're talking about. And we don't want to make any excuses. We believe our audio is competitive with the best indoor audio.
Yeah. So with the lighting, and then I want to hop to the sound. So with the lighting, I heard you say you try to get the industry to change, they wouldn't, so you had to go and do it yourself.
Yeah.
But again, the feeling I get is this sort of almost a little bit of the energy of like, oh, okay, you guys don't want to change? Fine. We're going to build something so ridiculously like, is there a little bit of that? I'm just feeling that energy almost in the product. This kind of like, this almost, oh yeah, well, this is.
I don't, to be honest with you, I think there's part of what you're saying. I don't think it was let's show them. I don't believe that we're interested in, there's two parent companies, they're sizable. Okay. So this business wasn't necessary for the families to continue to live. Okay. We really have no interest in being a commodity company. We don't have any interest in doing things the same way everybody else does. Now, and we do things different. If you look at our lighting and you look at our audio, it's quite different than a lot of the copycat products out there. So, but we're fundamental in our designs and our engineering where we don't believe in smoke and mirrors. We're not going to do things differently just so we look different than someone else or it's got a marketing story. It fundamentally has to be better. And we thrive on that. We thrive on creating products. And the other thing is our systems are systems. They start at the outlet, and if it's lighting, it's the outlet, it's a transformer, it's the cable, it's the connections, it's the LED lamps, it's the fixtures. We do not buy anything off the shelf. A Coastal product is completely designed here in the Keys. It is all the R&D is done here, the testing and prototyping, and then in New Jersey is where we do all our distribution, assembly, and all that. But same with our audio. It is not us upgrading an off-the-shelf product. It is not us buying castings and things like that for someone else. And it takes us a while, but all these products go through an extreme process to get to the end result. And some don't make it. But I think more than trying to show up a competitor that didn't respond the way we thought would, or a manufacturer, I think just we want to carve our own path. We're not looking to sell a fixture or a speaker to every person in the world. But for the people that appreciate quality and want that, we want to be that company that is easily distinguishable from our competitors.
Yeah, yeah. I read somewhere on your site that you've got employee ideas that are making their way into product design. I remember I was on a ladder screwing in this tree spike thing, and I'd read that one of your folks, again speaking to the feedback loop of being in the field and doing this stuff, had kind of developed that product, and that made its way into. Can you speak a little bit to that culture and how that plays out?
Sure. So, definitely in-house in the Keys, we have a lot of capability, a lot of resources. So we constantly reach out to the design build firm in our architectural department, and we'll run new. We're also very picky about industrial design. A product doesn't have to be ugly. So we try and make our products beautiful. So we have our interior design team, things like that. So we have that going on. We have our reps out in the field, which are independent reps. They sell our stuff and other lines. And then we have several in-house salespeople. We spend a lot of time, usually once a week, getting that feedback. What's happening in the market? What are the dealers asking for? What are the customers asking for? And, some of the ideas can be pretty rough. And to be honest with you, a lot of my ideas could be pretty darn rough too. And we have a filter mechanism. One of my sons is an architect and an engineer. The other one's a landscape architect. Sean, our lead engineer down here. So most of the ideas come to me personally at about 3:00 in the morning. They could sound incredible at that point. And then I wake up and some of them don't sound quite as good. And then after that, it goes through those next three people who really knock down some of those back pretty quick. And obviously that same process has to happen to stuff coming from outside the field also. But we are not a company to think we know it all, so there's some brilliant ideas out there. Some, for a lot of reasons, don't make it. They're not practical. They're very nichey, even though we're called niche products. Some things, if only two dealers want it, the process for us to tool products and design them starts at tens of thousands and can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So obviously we've got to make sure it's a product that has enough appeal. But we thrive on those things. We thrive on interesting ideas that haven't been done before. But solve a problem. If we're not solving problems, there's no need for that product.
Yeah. So was it always light and sound together? Like, when did sound come into play?
Okay, so we started very early on, and this goes back to maybe your earlier point. So our partners, which are the Zimmerman family, my family's the D'Ascanio family. There's 9 of us here. I'm generation 2, there's generation 3, and the Zimmerman family, I think, have 9 also. We built their house, and at that time we were using a cast bronze fixture, quite expensive for landscape lighting. Our line wasn't very full at that time, so we used them along with ours, and some of our audio products. And to be honest with you, the bronze fixtures failed within about 6 months. Now, they didn't fall apart, but they started rusting. Bronze should not rust. Okay. So as we were talking about starting this joint venture, this was going on. We contacted the manufacturer and said, "Hey, we've got a problem." The rep said, "Hey, we'll check it out." When it came down to there was an impurity in the product and it rusting, the manufacturer decided to do nothing about it. There's 200 fixtures. This is $100,000 worth of product. That was maybe a little bit of going back to what you said. And we said, you know what? We're going to start with lighting. We're going to rip all this stuff, which we did. We rip it out. We threw it away. We analyzed it very carefully. And that was the start of lighting. Now, my heart, my background, my audiophile part of me, audio was always a very important part of it. And to be honest with you, my partners and some reps that I've known for 30 or 40 years said, "Franco, don't get into audio. Everybody's got audio. Okay, there's 1,000 outdoor speakers. There's 1,000 ceiling speakers. It's very competitive. How are you going to stand out from the crowd?" So we didn't start with audio in the beginning, but it now represents fully half of our business. And we went about it a very different way. But Henry, you've heard it, but and demo is very important. But if a client wants this type of quality and is willing to invest in it, a demo usually lasts less than a few minutes. It's that compelling. It's that emotional of a buy-in.
So, I mean, how do you even begin? I think I can wrap my mind around the lighting piece and you know, where you kind of went from A to B on that.
Yeah.
With sound, to your point, you swing a dead cat, you're going to hit sort of 30 or 40 different outdoor speakers, et cetera, and some of them making various claims about how well they stand up to it. Yep. And I agree. When I experienced my first Coastal Source audio demo, I was one of those people saying, and it was our rep saying, "I want you to hear," this is our rep, Tim Painter, a great guy. Tim saying, "I want you to hear Coastal Source audio." Mm-hmm. And my attitude was, yeah, whatever.
Another speaker company.
Another outdoor speaker.
Yeah.
Who cares? He set up the demo. We walked outside. He hit play, and our jaws just dropped. And it's like explaining a comic book to somebody. So, I mean, yes, I agree. You have to hear it. So, but how did you get that sound? How did you do that?
Okay, so one, I go way back. So as a teen, I built my first speaker at 13. Okay, so it's like a lot of us in the industry, that's our primary love. We do automation, we do a lot of other things, but those of us that go back far enough, when hi-fi was, back when I had my first stores, it was what you did with your discretionary income. Yes. Are those Snell? What are those?
SDAs. Yeah, they're my grandfather's SDAs.
Fantastic. Yeah. So if I could turn my laptop around, you'll see I've got a lot of that kind of stuff. And I'm very lucky because I've got it at home. I've got it in the whole garage. I've got it outdoor. We have large demonstration areas at Coastal Source, at Design Source. So we're surrounded by this inspiration, this really good stuff for quite a while. So I think if you look at tremendous amount of history, and always in that upper end, I'm not necessarily talking the Exotica, the $5,000 speaker wires and that kind of stuff, but we've always been in that higher quality level. And I think we have a sense, and there's a team here, it's not just me, but there's a team that has a sense of what's important and what's not. Okay. If you take our ellipse bollards, there's a couple important things that separate them from the crowd. Number one, they are large speakers with large drivers. Now, when you bury them based on their form factor, we cheat, I think, the visual footprint. Okay, so we're able to hide a big speaker. We're able to blend that in the garden, but we've got drivers that are 4 to 5 times the size of our competitors in a similar class. Let's say
Mhm.
we've got 4 to 5 times the internal volume.
Mm.
Okay, so no magic there. That's just we decided that was important. Okay, the next thing was if you look at the angle of the front of our speakers, that's important. It doesn't add frequency response, but it allows time alignment. The tweeter is behind the woofer. High frequencies travel faster. So for our sweet spot, which is generally about 8 to 20 feet from a speaker, okay, you've got really good time alignment. Our brain and ear figure that out to make it sound more like live music, not that something's coming out of a speaker. A lot of the bullet speakers, which are very popular, the driver's recessed, and you can hear that it sounds like someone's talking through a megaphone. Okay. So that time alignment, obviously, when you bury them, you get what's called half space, you get a bass boost. And then we also like systems that are full range. Okay. The industry, and listen, Bose did an incredible job, and there's some very good products out there. Coastal Source is not a fit for every single person. But these subsat systems that became so popular with I forget what the first Bose AM1 or something like that it was, really do a great psychological job of making a little speaker sound big. Okay. But the truth of the matter is, it is not a true competitor for a full range speaker like you have behind you. Okay. Because our ear does know, especially if there's any distance from that subwoofer, that the sound's not coming from the same place. Subwoofers do not have a real long distance they cover. So if I'm covering a yard with a bunch of small speakers and one or maybe a couple subwoofers, as I walk around that yard, my ear knows that I'm not listening to a high fidelity system. Most of our products are full range at each location. Okay. So that you get really good sound balance wherever you are. Our speakers are also much wider dispersion. You can definitely use, in most cases, fewer coastal speakers than our competitors. So larger, more performance, some real technology. If you look at our bandpass subs that are built in, our drainage systems, the kind of cabling we do, the amplification, the connections, all those things we take into account because we're not great for cherry picker dealers that want to use our fixtures and not our lamps and not our cables, or our speakers without our amplifiers. Do they work well? Yes. Can they deliver the full coastal sound or light that you get when you buy the whole system? The honest truth is no.
Yeah.
Every system goes out programmed for that system. So on your system, when you told us you wanted 4 2-ways and an amplifier and a streamer, this is what your cable length is, we didn't just go off the shelf and take that and ship it to you. We actually programmed that amplifier for your system and set it up for that. And then the more elaborate one. So we believe all those things make a huge difference. And I think we're good at everything's a compromise. I think we're very good at choosing which compromises we can live with. There's no such thing as no compromises,
Yeah.
even though we like to say that we can get there. That's even we have a new speaker coming out that is quite expensive. It's starting at about $7,500. We have speakers from $200. Still, that top of the line speaker has compromises. There's no such thing as no compromise, but we just think we made really good choices. We hope.
What do you feel like as you step back and you look at Coastal Source? What are some things that you're really passionate about with Coastal Source, but you feel like they're kind of hidden gems that they're not well known, or man, you can't believe people aren't taking more advantage of this particular part of the company or particular
Sure.
product?
Yeah. Well, I guess what we believe in is I believe a superior product is about half the job. Okay. So we could have the world's best speakers, the best lights, the best all that. If we don't have the customer service, the reliability, the quality, labor savings, right? We are huge proponents of not wasting time, the dealer's time, the customer's money. So our systems are made to be installed very quickly, very reliably, very repeatably, so that you get the same kind of results. It's not, these are not experiments when you put them in. So I think that's very important, that system approach. And it's very important that you get the whole system, but that is a lot of our value. So customer service, how do we treat people? Inventory, we stock so through the inventory has been tough, as you're well aware, Henry. Our fill rate is generally, including through the pandemic, 99+%. Okay. It does no good if we send a dealer 3/4 of a system, especially with our systemized package. So I think it's all those things, but I guess what excites us mostly is the enjoyment that the end users get out of these. And I think you were somewhat of a convert, especially on audio, but even the lighting, I don't think you appreciated what that did to your lifestyle.
Yeah, not at all. And I think it's one of those things you got to experience it. And once you do, that's it. What would you say to somebody who has heard about landscape lighting or audio, but they've got a couple of floodlights on the house, and they say, no, my house it's lit up.
Yes.
After dark. Thank you very much. I'm good. What do you say to that person?
Again, we heavily rely on demos. So we make demo kits. And luckily, it's very simple since our stuff is plug and play. We're not having to invent that part of it. But we have lighting demo kits and we have audio demo kits. So that's the number one thing, is we could take usually a lighting demo kit's a dozen fixtures or so, okay, various ones, and very quickly show them the difference between what they have and what they could have. And in audio, it's the same thing. A lot of even your clients, when they think of outdoor audio, they think of a couple of the box speakers, kind of wall warts on their patio. I'm good. It's, I don't need anything more than that. They don't until they experience what the difference is. And then, I believe on audio demos, I would say on lighting demos, the close ratio's in the high 80s. In the audio, it's in the high 90s, very high 90s. Okay. So it's a very emotional wow. And a lot of times they have no clue what it costs. The cost really is not a factor because they realize what this is going to do for them,
Yeah.
So I think that's the exciting part of it. And you have to be able, and again, we don't believe in smoke and mirrors. We don't believe that when we target a product, it is not to make a small incremental improvement. Okay. We want, when you go show your customer that light fixture, you let them listen to the sound, or you show them our amplifiers, or you show them the way our stuff is truly built for the outdoor environment. That I know of, we are the only company that specializes strictly in outdoor. Okay. Now we know a lot about indoor, but we don't want that to dilute our focus. We're good at outdoor. And I think when someone looks at our stuff, they can see that it is built for outdoor. So it's those things that I think we want to do. We don't want to be in competition with 3 or 4 other people. If it's the right type of client for a coastal system, we want it to be very clear that it should be a coastal system, and not in salesmanship. Not, you've got salespeople, one's good at this and one's good at that. We want it to be a night and day difference, but it's backed up with sound engineering, design, construction, and most importantly, the performance.
It's interesting you mentioned the demo. We have one of your demo kits, and our folks will take it out and set it up, and then and I think we leave it for a couple of days, and then we'll call up and say, okay, well, we're ready to come and take it out. And the answer most of the time is, oh no, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, you're not taking that thing away.
That's correct. Yeah.
And it is amazing how much of an emotional sort of change, it is to walk out in a backyard that sounds great, that looks great. I just said to my wife the other day, we finally, it's all set up the way we want it, and the feeling is just amazing. What are some tips, tricks, shortcuts, hacks things that you find useful maybe in your own system, or you think it might be useful for other Coastal Source owners to know about?
I think, and our long-term plan is to pretty much own the outdoors. Okay. And I was familiar with some of the things you did at your house. I don't know how much you did, but it's that complete package of light, which is very nice. We make some really cool tiki torches, which give you motion. Okay. So flame light is very different. It's very warm. It's romantic. It's dancing. Plus audio, you really create a very different experience than that same space during the daytime. Okay. And I think it could be really cool. Obviously, audio works very well in the daytime, just the same. But that transition of night and day is really cool in that it's one environment during the day and it's another one at night. So I think it's that. It's depending on how much space you got, but I think it's giving you the reason to spend more time outside. So we are also we're in the Keys, so our outdoor living is a very high priority. That's why a lot of people are here. We have the ocean, we have those things, but outdoor natural living, I think, is very, there's a big push in this industry about being healthy, right? So in your house, air filters, make sure you got materials that don't have formaldehyde and other toxins in them. The light, color, the temperature, all those things, and how it in the day. Well, we have those things naturally outside. Okay, the air quality is better. We have a nice breeze. Toxins are not a problem generally. So we want to see people spending more time outside. But if you light your property properly, when you're walking, it's safer, right? We're not worried about steps as much and things like that. So you'll probably use your outdoor environment more. If your property is lit, and you mentioned the people that have a few lights and they're big, they look like Kmart's parking lot in certain areas. But most even nice houses don't have outdoor lighting. Okay. So if there's going to be some mischievous behavior in your neighborhood, are they going to go to your well lit yard, or are they going to go to somebody else's that's dark? Okay. But I think giving people the opportunity to spend more time outside, enjoy it, hopefully maybe even better than inside, and explore their property, right? Some of these properties are beautiful, but people don't leave their house or leave their back patio. We're big believers, and also in sound of it. It's not just your pool area. It's not your backyard. Why don't you have some of our smaller speakers at your entry that greet your guests or your family? Those walkways you use and places you use, why not integrate lighting and audio together? So I think number one, you can see we enjoy outdoor living. Obviously, in some climates, it is limited. But we take a lot of pride in people, all the responses we get back about how this actually improved their life.
Yeah.
These things make a big difference if well executed, and that's why we have direct dealers, because our dealers can execute these things well.
So at this point, you've got a lot of, if your products are your babies, you got a lot of kids at this point.
Yes.
I know, just like maybe a good dad, you don't play favorites, but are there any that you look at and you're like, oh man, I really love this particular product?
Yeah.
Like any personal favorites?
Yeah, again, I think this, I'm biased towards audio. And audio is more, I would say in most cases, audio is more emotional. Really good audio is more emotional than lighting. So we see it in our dealers. We see it at our trade shows that there's it's easy to catch people's attention. So our three-way speaker has been out in the market for probably about 5 years. I think it pretty much set the standard as far as performance and price. A lot of my partners, so there's partners, and I think going back to a couple of reps that I knew for a long time, and dealers said, do not get into the business. Okay. I think that speaker single-handedly changed their mind. Well, we have about 4 years developing that speaker. Okay. Pride and joy, etc. Well, our new line source is a whole nother league. So in some ways, the three-way being our baby, we feel sorry for it. Now it's still going to do very well. It's going to sell well. It's going to be around for a long time. But the new performance level is amazing. And I would say that in my explanation, I have some very expensive audio equipment, very expensive speakers. Some of the, when you look at the top 10 speakers ever made, as far as what journalists would say, I own a number of those. I really like them. It is in that league. And we have an advantage that I can't take credit for, or we can't take credit for. And that is, we don't have walls outside in most cases. Okay. We don't have these boundaries. We don't have all these hard surfaces. So indoors, there's a lot of work being done on room correction. Okay. And it's heavy duty number crunching DSP. Most of the problems we don't have. Now, outdoors, it is harder to reproduce real bass. It's harder to reproduce real SPL, sound pressure level, because we don't have those reinforcements of the wall, but we don't have those problems. So I would argue that our line source system, which is two very significant speakers, very significant technology, new technology for outside, our subwoofer and amplification systems will give you audio quality properly placed outdoors that will be superior to an indoor system at many times its price. So that's our new baby.
So I've heard you mention line source a couple of times. So to the uninitiated, like what can you tell us about that?
Okay, so a typical speaker and all our other speakers are point source speakers. They radiate sound in the low frequencies completely 360 degrees, okay? And then as you move up the chain, they pretty much replicate a sphere in their propagation. And depending on the frequency, it could be a narrow part of a sphere, let's say an eighth of a sphere, to maybe a half of a sphere. If I'm standing in front of it or I'm sitting in front of it, a small portion of that sound is coming to me. Much of it is going around me, going over me, going behind the speaker, that kind of thing, okay? So obviously it works, but it is not the most efficient propagation of sound. A line source, which is an array of drivers, and ours has 12 ribbon drivers, which are pretty much the finest drivers. You can put 6 mid-range drivers in a built-in sub, creates a sound field that's more like a cylinder coming at you, okay? So it has a condensed horizontal dispersion because we're really not interested in sound that is 20 feet over our head, okay? Now, if you have an upper balcony, maybe that's useful, okay? But we direct the sound much more at the intended area. Why is this important? So just from the line source perspective, it drops at 3 decibels for doubling of distance, okay? A point source like ours and pretty much all our competitor speakers drops at 6 decibels per doubling of distance, okay? Now, a little technical, but we'll talk about what does that mean. So if I'm listening to a speaker at 95 decibels and I'm at a table that is 2 meters away, okay, on a point source speaker, I've lost 12 dB from being 1 meter away. Actually, it's not correct. It's doubling a distance. That'd be 2 meters. That would be 6 dB. Okay. In my line source, I only use 3. Not a big deal though. The line source is louder, but that's not the important part. The important part is my other listening areas that are further away. My point source speaker keeps losing, a significant amount of sound every doubling of difference. So if I go to 2 meters, if I go to 4, I'm down another 6 dB. My line source is only down 3 dB. When I go to 8, I'm down a very significant amount. So what does this mean? Our systems are made to play loud. That's fine, but they don't, that's not normal. But if I'm close to the speakers and I'm far away, the sound is much more uniform than a point source speaker. And another technology that I'll tell you about that is very unique to us, especially in the residential field, is we have a technique called sub-zero. So people love our systems. They are very full range. They reproduce full bass response, full mids, full highs, the whole gamut. But you have neighbors, okay? The offending sound is generally the bass response, okay? Most of us are familiar with the really loud car audio systems. You hear them going down the road. You don't hear the whole frequency spectrum. You hear the boom, boom of the bass, okay? Because it carries. So we've developed a pretty sophisticated system by adding a pair of subwoofers behind our speakers, matched. We steer the bass. Some of our competitors love to show their subwoofers on the property line and then all the speakers facing back at the house, saying that the sound is going to the house, not emanating out from the house. Well, that subwoofer is 360 degrees. Your neighbor is getting as much bass as you are. They're not getting the mids and highs because the speakers are directional. So we're able to take the bass and cut it by 12 decibels, which is very significant, behind that rear subwoofer. So it's a significant cut in bass output, and we throw that forward because most people want as, not all, but most people want as much bass as they can get, and we don't want to waste that. So we're able to create these systems that create optimum conditions in your yard and minimize your sound pollution to other yards. Same thing is true. There's a lot of parallels in lighting and audio. We want to shroud our lights. We don't want you to be looking at the lamps, the light sources, which are glare. Same thing here. We're trying. That's a solution to a problem. Customers came to us and I said, "Man, I love your system, and I love to play it loud." Now, we constantly get compliments. I remember one about 2 years ago was, "Hey, bought a coastal system, love it, had a huge party. Police came out 3 times, best investment I ever made," right? But that's not all of us. So our systems can play, some of our systems can play at literally concert levels. And that can be a problem for neighbors. So we saw that as a problem that if we came up with a real solution for, is useful. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's a very useful feature that allow our clients to play music at the level they want without getting the police in them. So we go through a lot of that kind of detail.
So I heard Sub-Zero, I heard line source, and can you talk to us about product roadmap for sort of what's coming, maybe the rest of 2021, 2022, like any secrets you want to let us know?
We like to be a little secretive. So I will tell you that we don't rest on our laurels. So even if we have what we consider best in class products, we are constantly working on those. Okay. So I feel very confident, and it's been a struggle because with the pandemic, a lot of this stuff is, taking a longer time. There's a lot of roadblocks. But yeah, the only thing I'll tell you is if you like what we see right now, you will love what you'll see in the next year or two.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I tell you, we put it out there for a little Q&A. Looks like we've got some shy participants in the audience. So hopefully I've been asking the questions that everybody had in their mind. But I'll tell you, we're kind of coming up to the top of the hour. So Franco, this has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think you covered a lot of the areas. I think, if you're interested in quality and you value the kind of things we talked about, give us a shot. Demo doesn't cost anything. We believe that in the niche that we operate, that we really do some great things that add enjoyment at a lot of levels, hopefully at our level, at our dealer's level, at our rep's level, and most importantly, the end user.
Yeah. And if you do want to schedule one of those demos, you can go to our website, getlivewire.com, click on book appointment, and order us like you'd order a pizza. It's really, really easy. So with that, Franco D'Ascanio with Coastal Source, thank you so much for your time. And with that, we will end here, and we will see you next month. Thanks for tuning in.